All right, guys, we're live at Club 1177. It's been a while.
Joey Fajoli's birthday.
Joey Fajoli.
Joey Fajoli right here. Dominic Sinelli.
Yeah.
50 years old.
50 years young. 50 years young.
50 years young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited here tonight, Dominic. We're coming to you guys with a live audience. I'm Lucky Luciano. We're live tonight at Club 1177. We got to give it up to the owner of this place, who is the biggest warrior in Canada.
Absolutely.
Linda Wolf. Give it up for Linda. Man, this is our biggest crowd here tonight.
Oh, it's a great crowd. Yeah. There's got to be at least about 30 people, 40 people in here. Yeah. But anyways, so
we're going live across Canada, aren't we?
Live across Canada, across BC, this beautiful land that we live in, that we're going to make better.
Where are we right now? We're on Twitter. We're on
Rumble. We're on Facebook. We're on BitChute. Yeah. So
you can get the message. Everyone can hear the message. We actually haven't been on for a good 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Well, you were down at the NCI, right? So when you were at the NCI, it was a good time. You guys got a lot of interviews. If anybody didn't check out the National Citizens Inquiry, there's so much stuff. They went from city to city to city, and right now, I think they're in either Toronto or Ottawa.
They're in Ottawa,
yeah. Or is it wrapped up now?
I actually just wrapped
up.
Well,
thing is, they're talking about doing another round about that, right? Yeah. And, it was all real stories. It was all real experiences. There was CBC reporters. There was CTV. There was MS mainstream media. There was police officers. There was nurses. There was doctors. There was injured people that lost family. Like, everything was on that. And these are the stories that you're not hearing from mainstream media. Yeah. Why are they not telling us these stories?
Yeah, that's right. So PG Real News, I actually felt it in my heart to, and it really touched me because of the stories that I was watching. And I just felt that I really needed to be there for PG Real News, also for myself. And it was actually a validation, honestly, for me to be there. And I tell you, I'll be honest with you, because I'm a biker at the same time, but I shed tears like everybody else. And I honestly started crying when Ted was there. If you go back and listen to Ted, it's very moving. And I've been following VCC for so long, and it was a massive validation for me what he said just on that stage. And for me, it hit me. Yeah. And it broke through my wall, my barrier, and everything that I.
Well, the thing is also when you're talking about your daughter and your family and stuff, right? Yeah. It hits all of us when we start talking about family, right? Absolutely. Like, this is the reason what we're doing. We're here fighting the fight for our family, our future generations, for our neighbors, for our friends. It's been a long journey. You guys started here in Prince George, like almost 2.5, 3 years ago.
Yeah, 3 years ago. But it even goes further than back. We've got such a great lineup tonight with the women of wellness, but Carolyn and Carm, like, we go back to before their kids were even born. Martina was 4 years old. I'll show you these pictures. It actually just popped up on my Facebook page. Yeah. Martina's first rally was the GMO rally in Prince George. Yeah. So we go back a long ways to, this is what we do. And nobody, like I read the other day too online where somebody was like, well, where's Marcus Ray? And where's this person? Where's that person? And I wanted to reply and say, the only person that really matters in all of this, because we've been displaced, we've lost jobs, we've cried. Yeah. People they're losing everything. But at the same time, it matters. It hits.
Well, everybody's looking for a hero. They're looking for a leader. Unfortunately, the leaders that you are looking for is whoever you look at in the mirror every day. Right. That's the hero, the superhero. Be a superhero to your family. Be a superhero to your friends, your community. And that's all we need to do is when we all come together, we all become the superhero. Yeah. Right? Doesn't matter whether, we got people that are in the school districts that are running for trustees and that are actually in place. They're going to be the heroes for those students, right? To speak for those students, speak for those teachers, right? The nurses and the doctors and all the healthcare people that, they've been chastised or they've lost their jobs or this kind of stuff. They're the heroes in the healthcare industry. That's right. If you take a look at mothers are the heroes to their family, to their husbands, to their children. right? And we're all having to pick
They're
our
the
spot,
anchor, yeah,
and we
for
have a
sure.
lane, and we find our lane, and
Yeah.
if we stay within our lane and we sit there and work together, there's a lot more of us than
Yeah.
there is of them.
You know what, Dom? And you hit it right on the head, because a lot of us kind of after the convoy, you know, and then we've been trying to find answers online and all the different pages, and we're reading all these kinds of things. And I think at the end of all of what was my point? I was going to get at, but I just
we've been looking for a place to go. We were figuring out where our spot was, what our lane was.
Yeah,
I think that's where you were going, because we were
yeah,
talking about that earlier.
And so everybody went away, and everyone's just been finding themselves, and that's where I was really excited when we all came together and we sat down. And we're going to talk about the CAP program, was Community Awareness Project Prince George.
Yeah.
So a lot of these people that have gone and they're doing their own things now, they're coming back.
Yes.
And it's an extended family.
Oh, for sure. That's what it is. We're all family. That's the one thing, is we all came, you know, from the Creator, right? So we're all family. We all work together.
So tell us a little bit about the CAP program.
Well, the Community Awareness Program, that was actually the Community Awareness Project. It's down on the island. We had Rosalind move up from the island up to Prince George, and she's got friends on the island that started Community Awareness Project BC. It was all mainly to have to do with town halls and getting the education, getting the right people out there, and they allowed us to use the Community Awareness Project information for that part. But then what we did is we've been always working on stuff like we're working on food security. We're working on health and wellness. We're working on educational systems, security and communications. Like, we need to start coming together as communities. So we kind of took our community building, tacked it onto the CAP PG, and that's where it's kind of gone. And now we've got with a bunch of people, we've got farms now that we're doing for food security. Art and Ryan and all them, and John and all the people have been doing a lot of good work there. Rosin out at her place. I know that Alana's had some stuff out their way. There's all sorts of people that have things that are going on. It's just bringing it all together, because food is going to be scarce. We've got people that are soil experts. We have a soil expert in the house tonight, and we've been talking to Doug lots. Right. We've been talking to his son Chris about the hemp industry. Yeah. We're talking about getting land and bringing the land right back to the way that the Creator gave it to us, right? And try to get as close as possible. But we need to start doing things where we're not putting in chemical fertilizers. We're not using GMOs. We're not doing that stuff. And then with livestock and getting these farmers and those farmers together, and it's bringing the whole community. We've got farmers, like we had the Vohars. They donated stuff to us for soil and manures, and the Sweeneys gave us soils, and Home Depot gave us beautiful $2,500 picnic tables. They donated 2 of them. We had PG toilets. They donated a porta potty to us. Beautiful. Like, everybody just keeps on doing. All the people that have gone out there. Like, I've got pictures, and if you go to the PG Real News or you go to the different sites, we got pictures of all the stuff that we're doing right now, and it's absolutely beautiful seeing people working together. And I guarantee you, there's no fights going on. Everybody's taking their shoes off and getting their feet in the soil, getting grounded again. Like Art, I don't think Art ever wears shoes in the garden. Ryan got in trouble last week for not wearing shoes and using a rototiller. But anyways, it's getting back to the soils. It's also teaching the kids, right? We need to show the kids that the adults are starting it, and then we're going to go from there, right?
So the parallel economy, we've always talked about that, and that's when Rosalind came back from the island and she started talking about that. It was like, I'm getting goosebumps right now. I'm so excited, because we've talked about it, but that is the action behind the talk. We've done that now, and we've built the page, so you can go on to
cappg.ca.
Cappg.ca.
Yeah.
Right. So now
cappg.ca.
So there's so many of the people that we remember when we had those big rallies at the CN Center, and a lot of them, everybody's kind of gone and they've done their thing, but they're coming back now.
Oh, for sure.
Pick your lane, find out what you're really good at, and this beautiful family that we have.
Well, we got people also working on a form of independent schools, where we're actually going to have it on one of the pieces of property where the kids are going to learn how to do agriculture. They're going to learn about husbandry. They're going to learn about how food comes to us, how we raise animals for people that that do
Yeah.
that. You know,
Yeah.
we've got
4-H.
carnivores, we've got herbivores, we've got,
Everybody.
you know,
There's-
we got all the,
there's a place for everybody.
yeah, absolutely,
Right?
everybody. And that's the one thing that we got to keep doing. And then even with, so we bring the women of wellness on, that's the one I'm excited about tonight. But, you know, we have a whole wellness thing, and we have to think about, you know, a lot of people don't trust the doctors and the nurses at the hospitals and stuff because, you know, they're not doing the right thing. It's all about big pharma, big pharma,
Yeah.
big pharma. And you know, there's a lot of natural things that we can do, which is going to be great to hear. Yeah,
One day at a time.
One day at a time.
It's coming together.
Yeah.
We're all pulling this all together.
Yeah.
And it comes from a lot of hard work. So, so get in, help out in the CAT PG. Now
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about where we're going with PG Real News, what we're doing. BC Conservatives in British Columbia, what we're going to be doing. We're going to hit the road again.
Yeah.
Right. We're going to do some live interviews in Victoria.
Absolutely. Yeah. We're going to the AGM for the Conservative Party of BC, which is being rejuvenated with a grassroots movement, not with politicians, but with real people in the communities. And there's going to be 93 ridings, and we're going to run all 93 ridings. You know, there's a lot of us that are involved in that because it's about community, right? What we're doing with Prince George, right? We spread that to the other communities. We're kind of right now, we're kind of like the guinea pigs of the whole situation right now. We're the ones that are kind of laying the blueprint that we're going to spread to everyone else. And you know, we've got great people in this town. I think this is the heart of BC is up here. The north is the heart of BC. I hate to say it. I hate to say it to the interior, the island, lower mainland, but
that's what I was saying earlier tonight when I was talking to Jenny from Vancouver. Hi, Jenny. And I was just saying to her, I said, you know, there's 8 of us that are going to come down from Prince George to Victoria.
Well, there's 3 coming from the north too.
There's 3 from the north. Sean Taylor and all of them from Kamloops and stuff. They're going down there. There's going to be great representation. But John is not from the lower mainland.
John's from the north.
John is from the north. He's from Vanderhoof. This is what people forget. This guy is one of us. He's such a great guy.
Yeah.
And I just want to say that the only MLA that was at the National Citizen Inquiry
was John Rustad. Yeah.
Was John
Rustad. Hey, also, did you notice that he was the only MLA that did not denounce the truckers' convoy?
Yeah.
He did not. He's the ones that's standing up for all the healthcare workers with Bill 36. You know, bringing that to the forefront. Also about all of the mining of cobalt being done by children. He's trying to get them to stop the production of lithium-ion batteries in these vehicles because they're being mined by children. And the thing is they're pushing that agenda harder and harder. And it's like, wow, you think that children's slavery is more important than what's right to do. And so he's pushing a lot of these different things. He's talking about family. He talks about core values. Yes. We need to get back to our core values. Yeah, and we all have core values here in this room. We all have core values. That's why we're here. And that's why we keep spreading our stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, I wish we can actually show how many people are in here right now. Like, this is our best crowd that we've had.
It is. It's awesome. Yeah. And this is the only place I know in Prince George that has a live audience at a podcast.
And a liquor license.
Linda, where are you? Linda! Yeah. I'm so happy that we're helping Linda out as well. And
she's going through a lot of issues too, and so I know that she's retired and she's renting out the place now to other people. So you know,
so let's keep this place going.
Let's keep it going because there's good people in place. Yeah, and you know, so wow. That's my birthday drink. Yeah. But anyways,
I could have had a sip of that.
Yeah. The other thing that we should be talking about also is what we have going on with the coming events.
Yes. Coming events. We do have some 2 big weeks. Like we next weekend we're tossing up the idea where if we were going to get a bunch of the candidates for the school district 57. Invite them out, or we might do Dozer's Corner.
Well, we got to bring Dozer's Corner back.
I think of Dozer's Corner and then the weekend after. Dozer's Corner.
Well, you remember Winnipeg, yes. When we had Dozer's Corner and Dozer was laying on in the front, snoring his head off. And we had a huge couch full of people. You know, like that was a great event. You know, we had Art and there's myself and Doug Force and we had Red Dog and Moose on there. We had Alex Van Herk. You know, we had Mr. Adams and we had Conrad. So we had a good round table.
It was a great round table.
But I know that so Art's been gone for this whole this whole last year, and Ryan's been gone, and you know, Dwayne went twice back and forth, so we should bring them on. Dozer's been there the whole time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I think we just want to do it for Dozer, not for them, right?
Oh yeah, Dozer will be right up front there. I don't even think there's no. If you've never seen Dozer, we've got pictures of Dozer. He's the most tame dog. Awesome.
But anyway, so we've got that. The next 2 weeks, we got the candidates for school trustees here in Prince George for the by-elections, because we have to there's some really strong people that we need to get in there, because our children's future in education, right? We don't want to throw away the system. We don't want to throw away, you know, the bathwater, right? Yeah. You know, because there's already a system and there's some good people in there right now. We just need to bring those core values back, but we need to get some other trustees that actually can get some of that going. Yeah. And
let's shine the light on all of them and just really hash out a whole bunch of things. And you're right, get back to the basics of school, because I think
basis of education. We've actually gone away. Our educational system here in Prince George, they've gone down from a 50% passing rate down to a 40%. Education is not at the forefront, and we need to put education at the forefront.
That's right.
Yeah. But I think what we should do is I'm more excited to get the ladies of wellness up here instead. I think you and I
we've done our thing.
We've done our thing. Tonight. You know, we've let people know what's going on, and we need to get these ladies on here. We're gonna actually give them the whole stage. We're gonna walk away. We're gonna be in the crowd. And
we're gonna let Jan
and her crew, and she'll introduce everybody. And but let's actually, let's look forward to what's coming up in the next couple of weeks.
So next Thursday, let's talk about that one. Next Thursday night, we're gonna do that. That's June
the 8th.
June the 8th.
Yeah.
After we come back from Victoria, my goodness, we got a big schedule. And then the weekend after that, on a Thursday night, is the 15th of June. We're gonna do another one. We're not sure exactly where it's gonna fall in there, but Josh. We're going to get you in the hot seat up here, don't you worry.
Yeah, we're going to get Josh, and we're going to get Milton up here, and David Lowe, and we're going to call the other candidates to come out too.
Right. We're going to invite them all, right?
We're going to invite them all, and if they decide not to come, that's their own choice. But let's get down to the nooks and crannies. So we got the next two coming up, but let's get the ladies up here, and let's welcome everybody.
Yeah, women of wellness.
Yes, women of wellness.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Enough of us, the double trouble Italians. We're done.
Yeah. All right. Come on, ladies.
Anywhere kind of close? Okay.
Yeah, that's your water, my water down here.
All right. Whoever's going to be sitting over here.
I will get over. I will.
Okay, you come in here. Yeah, you come up here.
There's a couple mics.
You go right in there.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome. Thank you. Love it.
Back there. Okay.
Can you hear that? Can you guys hear me speaking? Okay, perfect.
You want to put that on your, just kind of get kind of like where I had mine. Yeah, like that. Perfect.
Okay.
Yours is there. Good. That's yours. And then you guys. Oh my goodness. This is the biggest crowd we got on the show.
Wow.
Yes. Yes.
All right. I think we should get a picture of you. Come on. No way. Everything's looking good here. Come on.
All right, here we go. All right, we'll let you in for a bit, and then you guys have to move.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm dead center. And it's
Okay.
All
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right. So thanks everyone for coming out. My name is Jan, and I just want to give you a little bit of the reasoning behind the inspiration and why I wanted to bring some of these incredible women together. There's been a lot of negativity in the last couple of years. We've heard we've been restricted. There's all kinds of stuff that's happened, and there's been a real focus on the science and on experts. And it got me really thinking about sort of what road that has led us to. And I did a lot of reflecting about, what has happened to health and wellness? Where did that go? So I talked with Dom and Luciano about a month and a half ago. I said, I really want to bring together a group of women who have knowledge and expertise and skills in a variety of wellness modalities. I understand and I hear and appreciate what Dawn and Luch said about, we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but I'm going to be very bold and say, I actually think that there's not anything worth saving in our current health system. I think that for me, I think this is a golden opportunity for us to look at creating wellness out of light and love and compassion. I think those are the things that make us healthy and well. And over time, and it didn't just happen since COVID, I'm afraid. It's been going on since about 1910 with the Flexner Report, where we pushed ways of knowing, our instincts, our intuition, we pushed it, we silenced it, and we've put it to the side, and we've become a society that is really dependent upon science, experts, and a lot of pills, right? I can't imagine what that might be like as a physician, how incredibly soul-sucking that is, that you aren't able to actually spend time with your patient and have a conversation, and to say, we're going to partition off your heart and we're going to put some pills in place and everything else will work fine, and then we're surprised when it doesn't. So I thought this would be an opportunity to bring some positivity into the room and talk a little bit about health and wellness from very different perspectives. And I've been very fortunate that a number of wonderful, lovely, skillful women joined me. Some were very reluctant. And I said, it's just a conversation. We're just going to share some conversation. And I have put together some questions. But for the first part, what I'd like to do is let everyone have the opportunity to introduce themselves to you and share with you what they're comfortable sharing about themselves, about their background, and that sort of thing. So we'll start with Christine.
Hi, my name is Christine. I'm the owner of MedHere Herbs and Homeopathy downtown in Redwood Square. I'm trained as a pharmacist. I'm also a herbalist, and I have homeopathic training. And at our store, we specialize in naturopathic medicine, herbalist medicine, homeopathic medicine. We were a natural pharmacy up until COVID, and then we closed our pharmacy dispensary, and I retired my license as a pharmacist during the time of the mandates. And so we have carried on 100% focusing on natural health. I'm here with my right-hand woman, Sharon, who works with me at the store. She's worked in natural health for many, many years, and she began with working with Susanna Molnar at the Bay Pharmacy several decades ago, and they've been pioneering homeopathic medicine in Prince George for many years. So I'm proud to be carrying
that on. Awesome. All right. So next we have Barb.
Yeah, my name is Barbara, and I'm a health promotion specialist. I have also another scientific degree. I garden since I'm 9 years old, and not every year because of life circumstances, but most of the time. I was always interested in nature and health from every different angle, and spent a lot of time in nature, and also was challenged by my own past health challenges, which forced me more to find alternative ways of healing and health promotion, and I was quite successful. So I may share that because I find that is maybe important to my history, is that I'm cursed and blessed through a lot of allergies. And however, since I discovered, and I'm on a diet and all of these things, I became extremely sensitive. It's like I feel like a human human indicator for toxic stuff.
Oh,
It's so
handy.
extreme. It's handy, but it's also extreme.
Yes.
Like it's really, when I react to something, I get really, really sick. Like these things in the cars.
Yes.
And I know they're neurotoxins, but I get extremely sick. So it's a curse and a blessing. But I'm really also to inflammatory stuff. I often discovered things in my own body because I'm so sensitive. I reacted with pain before it was described in the literature. So which is inflammatory or not. So that's my story. So that's basically what my life is about health and health promotion, my whole life.
Awesome. So Alana, this is our next.
Hi, thank you for inviting me. So I am going to be coming to you from a metaphysical point of view tonight. Oh, it's over there. I thought it was there. Thank you. And I have a background in energy healing. I have a number of I've done healing touch training, and I'm going to be talking about meditation and prayer groups and how important they are, in my opinion, to the healing that we're going to be doing in the future.
Awesome. Thank you. So Sharon.
My name is Sharon Bonto. I've been about 21 years in the homeopathy and the pharmaceutical aspect of both. When I was hired, I didn't know anything other than what, possibly the prescription world held. But when I started working with Susanna, Hello? Can you hear me? When I started working with Susanna, I had two hats to wear. One was a pharmaceutical hat, and the other one was a homeopathy hat, which I knew nothing. I didn't think I was smart enough, but I knew I was interested. So she allowed me to, she was very patient, she was very understanding, she guided me with questions with the answer. So, okay, what was this here for? What do you use this for? And then she would give me the answer directly afterwards. And she would sometimes repeat that over and over again throughout the day. So I learned in a very special way.
Can you turn that on?
It is on.
There you go.
Here you go. Let me give you a hand. Why is it not working? There you go. Yay.
Okay. I'm not starting all over again. So I learned in a very special way from Susanna the value of homeopathy and the value of pharmaceutical, because she always said to me, for every illness, there is a way out, and that you just have to have the trust in yourself and believe. And the first thing you need to do is make the change, and the change comes within yourself. And there's many, many things that she said to me over the years that I've installed. The testimonials of people were another thing. Having people come in with bouquets of flowers saying, "You've changed my life."
Yeah.
It was another assurance that there's something to this homeopathy. Trust in yourself, believe in yourself. And Susanna would always say things to people over and over again. She was harsh at times, but she was straight, and people liked that about her. There was 4 generations before she left. She retired at 84 years old, by the way. She brought homeopathy to Prince George at Woodward's. I don't know if anybody remembers Woodward's, but she brought homeopathy to Prince George. And she was the pioneer of Prince George for this. I'm very proud to have worked with her and under her.
That's fantastic.
And when the skies opened up and God decided to descend this lovely angel our way, Susanna knew it was time for her exit. And she truly said, "I don't think I can go on. There's not going to be a replacement. I might have to retire and close the store down." And it wasn't until the skies opened and Christine dropped out. And we've been very blessed. But homeopathic is a life on its own, physical, mental, emotional. It takes care of a lot of things, but you have to understand that homeopathic, you work for it. It's not a one fixed pill and 8 hours later, wow, you can take the second one. You have to hit it hard, and you have to believe that these products are magic, because they can correct a lot of things that you wouldn't believe that could have the power to do that. And that's what I'm going to say for now, because I'm going to let other people talk.
Yes.
I'm just very proud to be part of the homeopathy. I'm proud of Prince George as well.
All right. Thank you so much. So the next person is Mary. Because I don't know if that one's gonna. Is it not working?
Doesn't seem to be.
Oh, it's working. Never mind. You can use that. So there you go.
So I don't need
Yeah,
both.
keep that one.
Okay.
Next one.
My name is Mary, and I am a registered social worker, and all of my social work experience today has actually been in the field of healthcare. Prior to getting into the field of social work, I actually did work as a lawyer for a short period of time until I realized that the legal system wasn't for me, the way it operated. So I then went to work for Northern Health, and I worked there. I managed to work there for 16 years. So I've got all that experience of working as a registered social worker in healthcare. I usually was working on interdisciplinary healthcare teams at the Health Authority, which were comprised of doctors, nurses, rehab people, which are physiotherapists, occupational therapists, home support, life skills, social work, mental health. I worked there until 2 years into COVID. So I actually did work the first 2 years of COVID as a frontline healthcare social worker. And that was an interesting experience, and to itself very disturbing also to see some of the measures that the government was dictating to people, and we had absolutely no say over it. It was just dictated that we had to operate in a certain way. So 2 years into COVID, I parted ways with the Health Authority. And at this point, I would not consider ever going back to work for them. Since that, I have moved into the field. I should mention too, because my first background was law, I was always very sensitive to the legal issues in healthcare. And one of the primary issues in that regard was informed consent. And this vaccine mandate stuff was absolutely egregious on many levels. And it just couldn't accord with my ethics. So when I was working in healthcare, I always focused on the 4 quadrants of health, which are mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. And that was partly because I had teachings by a Cree woman during my social work degree, and she introduced us to the medicine wheel teachings with the 4 quadrants of health. And of course, other cultures also very much have these concepts of health. I've been looking at my own Celtic culture, and there's a medicine wheel in Celtic culture also, which is very interesting to me. So since I parted ways with the Health Authority, I've actually been working in the field of Indigenous health. I should note, I've also very much been involved with the advocacy for the unhoused people downtown Prince George. And in fact, I did an affidavit for the Supreme Court case against the city because the bylaw officers and the RCMP officers were chasing around the most marginalized people in our community who did not have proper supports in place by the Health Authority, by BC Housing, by any government agency. And during COVID, that all became way worse. So I did an affidavit for the BC Supreme Court stating that these people do not have services. And the homeless people were actually successful against the city of Prince George. And the city appealed it to the Court of Appeal and were unsuccessful. So at present, many of you probably know Moccasin Flats in Prince George is a protected area by the courts because of that case. I'm not saying that place is perfect at present. There's much more that needs to be done for the most marginalized people of our community. But there's definitely some stuff happening in that field. So I've been working in Indigenous health since I left Northern Health. And I am also doing counseling. I've just started working part-time with a local counseling office here in Prince George as well. So I'm starting to really focus in on the counseling and mental wellness field.
Awesome. And Carolyn?
I think this one works, right?
Yeah, it does. Yep.
Hey everyone, my name is Carolyn, and I am first and foremost a mother.
Yes.
two beautiful boys, and I'm a homeschooling mom, so we're doing things very organically. Actually, my whole life has been about health and well-being. I'm also a yoga instructor here in the church community and have been instructing for 27 years, practicing for 27 years, teaching for since 2005 anyways. My whole outlook on life is that, we need to come back home to ourselves. That it's about this journey, like life is all a journey to come home, and COVID taught us a lot about resiliency and where the philosophy is we want to bend without breaking. That yoga philosophy.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
So there's always a stress in the world. There's always going to be some sort of stress.
Yeah.
And there's good stress and there's bad stress. And if we could, allow for some good stress, which would be like, how the world teaches us things, we become more resilient through that. Our ability to be present in ourselves, in our breath, and in whatever life throws at us. We come back home to ourselves. We come to listen to the body, to connect with, whether it's just connect with community, connect with ourselves, or connect with a higher power. It's always a beautiful thing. So
Awesome.
part of my practice is making people feel good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that's about that is health and wellness. That is sort of the very essence of it. And I think what I wanted to put on display for people is that it's not just one thing. It is all of these things collectively coming together. It's why we refer to it as sort of the art and science, but I would say it's more heavily on the art of weaving together these different things. We're not just monochromatic. We are not two-dimensional. There are all of these dimensions, and we've forgotten about it, right? When I think about spirituality, for lack of a better term, I think we are bereft of spirituality. We don't know where that is anymore, and you see so much spinning. Right? People looking for the magic pill, or if I could just do it this way, or if I just get the right treatment or whatever. And I think one of you said it's within, right? It's in here, and trusting that voice. And we have practitioners who come at helping people recognize the voice, nurturing it, giving it wings from very different perspectives, because I think it's not just one way, right? It's not at all one way. And that's where we've kind of gone astray, I think, in our current system.
Yes, Bonnie Henry is not that voice.
Oh, that's a bad word. That's a very bad word.
Voice
That's right.
for your life, right? Like Dawn was touching on, like we have to look inside the mirror.
Yeah.
And to really
To look at it,
within,
yeah.
To source into ourselves so that we can be more present and there for our children, the world, our community,
Yeah,
help.
I think that the big thing for me when I think about sort of what is that whole big thing of wellness and health and all of these different pieces, I think about nope. We should call them up. No, I'm kidding. But I do think about sort of the Western, and I was taught in that Western modality. I'm a nurse from way back, and I think I was very fortunate that I've always been very curious by nature, and I'm always very interested in what other people are doing, and I have a real desire to actually help people, right? That is what I've always wanted to do. How do I help? How can I make it better? And I think that got me sort of questioning sort of what is the right way, and I realized there is no right way. It's we came up with this very unique and new thing. A couple of years ago, I had the opportunity to look at creating a different model of nursing care. I know that sounds pretty boring and dull and all of that, but it was an opportunity to look at things very differently. And here's the big thing that we did differently. We decided that the patient should be the expert of their care. Can you imagine? Like, oh my God, right? And that whole idea of that instead of this transactional nursing that we were doing, I have a list of things that I have to get through, and oh my God, I need to check it off, and all of those kinds of things. We shifted that to, I'm walking alongside of you as the expert, and I might have some information or knowledge about something that may help you make a decision that's right for you. That was a huge change for people, huge. But I'll tell you, after we implemented it, a couple of things happened. We had staff who said they were incredibly satisfied with their jobs. They said, this is what I went to school for. This is what I went into nursing for. I actually am helping people find their way. And I think when I look at people who practice yoga, who teach yoga, who do meditation, who teach that, I'm actually very envious, because that's exactly what they're doing, is helping people find that path in a way that I think it used to be intrinsic, and I think it used to be instinctive and intuitive, but we've pushed it aside for this medical model that doesn't really suit us very well. Sure.
I know I for quite a while I was working as primary care social worker at Northern Health with the interdisciplinary healthcare team, and of course our programs on the surface were premised on that very concept of the person being, at the center of health, and then the wraparound healthcare team. But it just never seemed to work, and I think it is because, as you say, there was this real concept that the doctors in particular are the experts, and that everything is primarily pharmaceutical driven.
Mm-hmm.
My experience in the healthcare system was that there's not an openness to other healing modalities. I worked with many cancer patients over the years who wanted to have homeopathic remedies.
Yeah.
They would have liked the spiritual
Yeah.
aspect being a huge part of their care. Everything that everyone here is talking about, there's many patients out there who want that all as part of their healthcare. And this, Northern Health kind of healthcare system we have, and the Cancer Center, they are predominantly not open to it. It's not the fault necessarily of the clinicians, the nurses, or the individual doctors. It's the system. It simply does not support that. And it was very frustrating and sad for many, many people that I worked with, because they were very disempowered in their health care, spoken down to. Sometimes doctors would be speaking to them and they would not even understand what the doctor said to them. It was like their whole power was taken away from them in that system.
But part of this here too is the fact that pharmacare doesn't recognize. So when people have to pay out of their pocket for help, it becomes pretty hard for them to come in and yes, there is something out there for you, but unfortunately
It's not covered. It's not recognized.
It's not recognized. It's not covered.
Yeah.
So therefore, these people, are just basically, they are in the system. They are on the pharmaceutical road of destruction, because they want their health back, but they don't know any other way to get back, because they can't afford to pay for their, the products, right? Emotional support is another one. Like, I can remember a story a long time ago, but a customer came in and said, if I don't do what is asked of me, they will cut me off. Basically, they said I'm a walking zombie.
Mm-hmm.
I am the walking dead of Prince George, because what they do is they numb me with drugs, a prescription drug. I don't want to be on this prescription drug, but I have to, because if I don't do what they ask of me, I don't have a roof over my head. Now that is heartbreaking, but it is reality. They have fallen in the system. And unfortunately, when you want to get help, whether, even if it's a spiritual help or something, everybody needs a little bit of cash, to get them there. And that's the unfortunate part of that system being broken.
You go right ahead.
Should I?
Yeah.
Can I just say on the spiritual part, I don't think you do need cash. I mean, if you would like, come to our meditation group and
That's
we'll
true.
guide you through it. And
Yeah.
I just want to say that it's been quite a journey for me since March 20th when I lost my job in Vancouver, and I had the eyes to see and the ears to hear what was going on, and watched everyone else around me, most of the people, fall into this bizarre, horrifying thing. And I had to totally rebuild my life. And so I thought I was functioning pretty well until that happened. But what I did is started meditating, and then I found people who wanted to meditate with me, and it became exponential. Our healing, like our meditation group is full of beautiful souls, and we have helped each other through this. And we now have conversations like, who cares about all that?
Yeah.
Let's create a new world with, I mean, my life's pretty good. Like your life is pretty good. If you don't have any food because of food shortages, you can have some of mine. And it just goes on and on and on. And I'd never want to say, we don't need allopathic medicine, because if I break my leg in half, I want to go there. And I would like to incorporate everything,
100%.
but recognize that going forward, these systems are just collapsing and failing. But our systems we're creating aren't collapsing and failing, they're thriving.
Yes.
So I won't take too much time. There's a lot of us here, but that's what I'd like to say about the spirituality part of it from
I totally agree.
agree.
I totally
sorry.
agree. I totally agree with you. And that was the whole purpose of coming together and sharing that knowledge. And there is a lot of heaviness, right? And there's also a lot of light.
Yes.
And so do you want to step into the heavy, or do you want to be in the light? I kind of want to be in the light. It feels good.
Hopefully there's a tipping point, and
Right?
we'll all get there, and we
That's
can work
right.
together on it. Like,
And
if
we'll
you
pull
look
you
at all
in.
the beautiful things, this garden thing that's going on, I'm
It's
like, every
amazing.
time I read about it, I'm like, this is it. This is where we need to go together. Or in our group where someone, brings something new, and we're all like, oh, I don't know about that. And then we're all like, wow, that was majorly healing. I've just done a quantum leap, like stuff like that. Like,
That's amazing.
if we focus on the good stuff instead of like all the bad stuff, all of a sudden this path opens up, and we're like, wow, good stuff, good stuff, good stuff.
Yes.
Because we create our reality, whether you like it or not.
100%.
And the world is a mirror. And so let's all get together on it,
Yeah, I totally agree.
So if I may.
You go right ahead.
Oh, you've got one, sorry.
So maybe connecting to your aspect, what you were talking about meditation, because I feel that is one of the crucial parts of turning inward. And you said that too, Carolyn, because if you look at what happened at the bigger perspective, what happened in the world the last few years and before, in waves all the time, propagated by the media, coming from a mental health perspective, basically, and I see it in my practice every day as well, because anxiety and depression is up through the roof. Like it was high before COVID, but it is like there's so many people on stress leave, including teachers and kids. It's like, it's unbelievable. And so how I see it is that we are kept for many years, not only COVID. COVID was just the top of the iceberg, but we were kept in fear for many years with all these, oh, this can happen and this can happen. And if like someone posted it, I think on Facebook somewhere, and then the acid rain, and that, I know there's scientific evidence for some of these things, but at the same time, COVID is just the exponentiation of all of that. So we were kept in absolute fear. And what happens is, if you look at the three main brain states, the survival brain, the amygdala, fight or flight brain, which most of you probably know, when we are kept in that because we are in fear all the time by what we watch on the news every day, and then we talk about it. Did you hear that? And this, and especially COVID with the unpredictability of new measurements, every day something new. That is absolute. All these measurements, isolation, because we're social beings, connective beings, all of these things put us automatically, unless you work against it or counteract or rebalance, put us in our survival brain. And when we're on the survival brain, what happens is we focus on the external. Because our ego also kicks in. This is also, I think, at the root of where we are at with the pollution, with the materialism, with the consumerism. It all comes from fear. And because we focus on the outside, like what we have, what we are, how we appear, how we fit in. And life and health is all about balance. And so in order to rebalance and go, because this is about health and healing and wellness, it's always a dance of balance. And what happened worldwide and individually is that we were in our fear brain focusing on the outside, and what is the measurement for balance is turning inward. And when we turn inward, getting in this spiritual connected space, with practice, we get in a calm and centered space. We trust our intuition. And whatever measurement we use, if we use yoga, if we use meditation, if we use conscious dance, or plant spirit medicines, which are super powerful. All of these things bring us in our center and in this inward connection. And if we connect with this divine part of ourselves, we cannot be misled. We trust that, and we need to nurture that. And that's why all these things to turn inward is super important, including going out in nature, because that is also a very good means to turn inward.
Huge,
Because nature is non-judgmental.
Right? Yeah.
Otherwise, we're always, again, in fear, anxiety, social anxiety, fear of shame, right? Oh God, did I say something wrong? Right?
It's true. It's true. It's true.
Right?
It's true.
So,
how many trees have talked back to you lately?
yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
They may not hug back, but you feel good, right?
Yes, and if you look at old cultures, if you look at old cultures all over the world, they had their medicine people.
Yes.
And they were masters in turning inward. They were masters of altered states of mind with different means, different altered states of mind. And these altered states of mind enable us to access knowledge, which and intuition, which otherwise is not, because there's so much, like also research, like how can they know in South America there's so many plants that this plant and this plant work together, although they grow at exactly like completely different spots. And there was one researcher going down there, and I read a book, I forgot his name, Jeremy Narby, The Cosmic Serpent. Is this book, very good book. And he always asked, how do you know this? And he always got the same answer from these medicine people. They got it through another plant, which gave them the knowledge. And so we really need to reconnect and also to these our own plants. I actually brought a few from my garden, also health related. So we have so much, because this is all, sorry, I don't stop talking, but then I shut up.
That's all right. That's all right. You carry on.
So we have so much medicine here.
Yeah.
Like this is in my backyard in the city, right? And so this is my favorite herb here. It's just shortly before flowering. It's yarrow. And
okay.
yarrow helps against so many things. You can teas help against infections like colds, everything, right? It is against like bacterial, but also as far as I know, antiviral. It's a female herb as well for all kinds of female woman issues.
Yep.
It has so many health benefits. I actually put a few leaves in my daily salad, if I think of that. There's another one, sorry, I just squished them in. So that's fireweed. I don't know who knows about these. Fireweed goes so abundantly here,
Yes.
right? It's a little old, but you can still eat that. It's actually quite yummy, like asparagus. You can cook it with salt water and butter. It's
Nice.
perfect.
Oh, that goes in my salad.
Yes, yeah, mine too. So this is, sorry, it looks bad. This is wild lettuce, also in my backyard.
not everyone's yard,
Grows
right?
high like this. It grows on the roads everywhere in the cracks. And this, when it is an adult plant like this, it has a milky juice. This milky juice works like an opioid, but it is not addictive, and it is not an opioid. It's a sedative,
really strong
and it
pain
is a
medication, yeah.
painkiller. It interrupts the signal from the brain to the brain. It grows, if you know these plants, you see them everywhere.
Everywhere,
They
yeah.
grow in the cracks of the road.
That's
So,
awesome.
another one was, so I just want to tell you how much abundance we have. Also, when we
Yes.
talk about food shortages and whatever, we need to know that dandelion maybe knows, it's one of my favorite plants. Oh, that's another wild lettuce here. I don't know, I just grabbed a bunch.
That's so
Probably
good.
more here.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, so yeah, that's dandelion, right? The root came off. So the root is like long like this. It's bitter. I make pesto of that. I cut the whole thing up,
Oh,
including the
wow.
root. It's
Okay.
very bitter. Cut it very small up, put some garlic in, some olive oil, and some
Nice.
other spices. It's very nice. It's so healthy. So many years ago, I read, if you compare that to store-bought lettuce, the same amount. This has 100 times more of all the minerals. It's unbelievable. You basically need just to eat a few leaves. They have the same amount of vitamins and minerals as in a whole head of lettuce.
Right?
Yes, so this is my favorite. It's a
That's
wonderful
amazing.
liver remedy. And somewhere, and then I'm finished,
Yeah, no
somewhere, I don't know where I heard that and read that, but it stuck with me. It was some culture who believed that wherever you live for longer, like 10 years plus, you will attract, or the plants will grow which you need for your healing.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
And it's very
I love it.
interesting because it's just stuck with me. And each time when I live somewhere, I really watch, when I lived somewhere for several years, how the plants change. And then I thought, okay, look at those plants which come up. They must have a meaning. And it's really interesting. That's how I discovered the wild lettuce. Right? I thought, what's that? It grows so abundantly here now, right?
Yeah.
And it's a painkiller.
A
I
really
used to
powerful
suffer
one.
from a lot of pain, and it's a sleeping agent. So it's there's so much knowledge and so much things we don't understand.
Yeah.
But Tesla, I think, said, if you want to understand life and healing, you have to look at energy, vibration, and
Yes.
frequency. And
Yes.
this is what we all are at the base.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. No, thank you so much, Barb. Really appreciate that. That's so awesome. I'm gonna go be looking in my backyard here, all those pesky weeds that I think are weeds or not.
Yes.
They're very helpful. So I just have a few questions. So maybe I'll just ask one for people to think about. And the question is, when you hear the word health or healthy, what does that actually mean to you personally, or if you're doing work with others? I know it's a bit of a loaded question, but what does it actually mean to you? Christine.
Health equates life to me. And I think the things that have been imposed on us in the most recent time are anti-health and ultimately anti-life. And I believe all the things like the plants that you've been sharing with us, plant medicine, natural means of healing, are ultimately supporting our life and our longevity and our growth. And to be healthy, when we are healthy, we feel the most alive.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, for me, health is life.
That's awesome. Anyone else?
Yes.
Carolyn?
To me, health, there's, the first 4 letters is heal,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And I would like to say that it's like heal thyself.
Yeah.
Right? So health and well-being has to start with yourself first. And to source into the power, the innate power that we all have within ourselves. In yoga, like there's like different states of being, right? That we understand that there's this, it comes to your sattvic place, which is your pure state of being, which is to be well, in essence, to be pure, polished, cleansing, and all the things that the different practices that we do, deep breathing, to bring you back into source, into that. It's truly what it is about. I think health and well-being has to start with yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
I think I have one.
Yeah.
Can I say something about that? I'd like to go back to what Mary said about the 4 quadrants, and health to me is the 4 bodies that we have. So our physical body, our mental body, our emotional body, and our spiritual body. And really none of them you have to have all 4, health in all 4 of those. And if you have health in all 4 of those departments, I'll call them, they'll help each other. Like you really can't survive without some sort of spiritual, whatever. It doesn't matter if it's what you call it, like divine or God. I like to say God, but some people don't like it. Whatever it is, that's important. If you're eating McDonald's every day, your physical body is not going to thrive. If you are scrolling, which I used to do, doom scrolling when this first started for hours, I'd look at the clock and be like, oh, it's 1 o'clock and I've just filled my mental body with fear for 4 hours. Like it was almost like a game addiction or something. And then also your emotions too. Like if you don't get in touch with your emotions, like what am I scared of? Like why am I crabby? Like get in touch with it all and figure it out. Like spend some time alone. So I think the self-care is number 1. I agree with you. Self-care. I'm like so into self-care now. It's like, no, sorry, I can't come. Like I've got to have a bath and like light some candles.
It's good.
Yeah, I need a lot of time to make my really healthy breakfast tomorrow. I'm going to make it tonight. Like seriously, and my life, the more self-care I do, the better my life is. And I used to think that was really selfish. Now I think it's really cool. So
it's true.
I agree with you.
I agree with everything you said as well, but I think for me, when I think of health, is I wake up every morning and I've been telling my kids this for a long time. If you're listening, you wake up with an attitude, a positive attitude. You wake up and you say, "This is going to be a good day," because the first thought that you have in the morning has to be positive. If you want to feed your emotions negatively, if you choose to choose negative, I get up in the morning and I have a very positive attitude. My husband says, "Oh my God, like, you got so much energy," and I'm always so happy. I'm happy because I choose to be happy.
Yeah.
If I'm not happy and I'm struggling, I put on music, and my music keeps me grounded. And Gordon Lightfoot, there's nothing wrong with Gordon Lightfoot.
John Denver.
But there's nothing wrong with waking up in the morning and the first thing you say is it's going to be a good day. I don't care if it's raining, snowing, cloudy. I don't care how miserable it is. If there's negative energy around you, you need to find your little corner in your head and you need to turn it into positive, because it's not going to stay negative forever, but it will if you have self-pity and if you don't feed your happiness. And you have to do that. You have to get up in the morning and choose. Life is about choices. Am I going to go to McDonald's today? No, I'm going to eat that salad that you found.
Yeah, your backyard.
You know,
Anyone have any dressing?
We're all going to be up
it's a choice.
I love it.
I agree with what people are saying. For me, nature is really important. Spend as much time as I can in the wilderness. I'm also very much into learning about the plants
And meditation, I do try to regularly meditate and dance and listen to Tina Turner and other musicians. But I also think that connection with community is very, very important. So really, the freedom community, the people who are fighting for freedom in the country, to me, that is a really important part of health, be connected to people who you feel that you have something in common with. Because the reality is, and self-care is absolutely number one. I absolutely agree, but we are also part of a larger community that is not overall that well right now. When you look at Canada as a whole, it's not a well society, and we're all interconnected. So I think that's part of it too, is cultivating community and connection. A lot of people are really struggling right now financially and with housing. So I think that this country has become very materialistic over the years. A lot of people have huge houses, have lots of stuff, which can cause a huge amount of stress to people if they can't afford that stuff. So I think simplifying one's life as well, and just thinking about, what do I need actually? Do I need to have all this stuff? Do I need to have such a big space? I really do try to think about that in my life and try to live as simply as I possibly can as well. Because I think right now I certainly wouldn't want to be in a huge, huge amount of debt the way things are in our country. So I think that's part of it as well, and looking at the plight of others in that context, because there's a lot of Canadians who are really suffering right now.
Yeah.
So.
It's so interesting because I think the common thing that I heard was really about taking responsibility, right? That's what we're really talking about. And it's one of the things that as a society we've kind of abdicated a bit, right? Yeah. It's just kind of easy to, and I've seen it kind of happen in society, sort of creep in over time that, I don't have cable. I got rid of that horrible stuff. And I'm just going to tell you a very funny little story. So TELUS was busy trying to sell me cable, and I unfortunately made a mistake because I didn't realize the little box was cable, and I had to box it back up and send it. And we had this lovely conversation, and he said, "Can I ask you, it's only $20 extra, right? Can I ask you why you don't want it?" And I said, "Well, and I hummed and hawed. I said, "Okay, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you." I said, "I don't want that filth in my house." and he was like, he started laughing, and I said, "Before you even say it, I know you're not the producer or the maker of that crap." I said, "But you were selling me the box and you asked the question, so I'm telling you." They said, "All righty then, we'll make sure we get that box back and you won't have that in there." But it's one of those things that, exactly what you said, Lana, I was spending hours just going through stuff, and I actually had to make a conscious decision to turn it to music. And I call it now my old lady music because I'm old. I got the notification from my bank that I'm now the senior citizens discount. So that's awesome, so it's awesome. And that was this birthday. How nice. But I did that too. And it's very interesting because my kids hate
I might get a discount.
You will, yeah. My kids absolutely hate my music. They hate it with a passion. And I can't believe what the difference has been just in my own energy and just the outlook, right? I'm more positive. I'm not this sort of dragging around. I'm so tired. I want to go back to bed. It is absolutely life-changing. It's that vibration. It's all of those things, but it's that responsibility, right? I have to do that. I have to make the decision that I'm going to turn it off, that nope, I'm going to switch it to music. Nope, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to get out in my garden. I'm going to do all of these kinds of things. And I think what I've observed, and I worked in emergency nursing for many years before I went into different branches. And what I saw when people came in was accumulation of constantly abdicating their role in their health. And what I want, and this is a question for everyone that I'm going to put out there, but it's if you could change one thing in our current world or our system, what would it be that would have a positive impact? And for me, it would be for people to understand that health is a commodity, that we need to nurture it, we need to look after it. How do we get to 85 and 90 and still be spry and healthy and enjoying life if we haven't paid attention to it, invested? You'd never do that with your investment. You constantly look at, oh, I got to move that around, and oh my God, that's falling, and gold might be the better investment. You know, we constantly do that. Why aren't we doing it with our health? And that was what I would want, is for more people to say, I'm in charge of my health.
Yeah, if I may connect
go right
with
ahead.
that.
Yeah.
Definition of health. So again, the medicinal system, the definition of health is based on a dichotomy, meaning we're either healthy or sick. And, basically you're defined through your disease and you're nothing else. And that is something I don't agree with.
Yeah.
I see, and it comes from a model I'm working with, but so health in reality is a continuum. So I call it health ease. So on this side is the ease, or let's say in the middle, maybe, and on one extreme side there is dis-ease.
Yeah.
And it's a dance. So health is a dance. You want to be on this continuum, maybe, health here or ease here and disease here. You want to be in the middle. That's the aim. But we're never static. It's nothing static because life throws things at us.
It does, yeah.
And stressors and everything. So it is a dance, and it is a dance coming back to when you worked in that model where you put the responsibility back to the patient, which is the only way to go.
Yeah.
It is about how many resources do we have and how many resources do we perceive. So resources can be anything, a belief system, a social connection, a social support. It can be finances, material resources. Many other things, or having learned to cope and getting up again, right, after downfalls. The more you successful cope with adversities of life, the more able are you to do the dance in the middle. And so, so this is how I
look at it.
see health, yes.
Yeah. It definitely, I agree with you. It's never static.
No.
100%. And I think it does kind of go back and forth. And I think I always question, what I find very curious is why are some people better able to manage that and seem to roll with different strife and struggle seemingly more easily than others?
If
right?
I may recommend a book, a very short book, because it really describes that part, is Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning.
Okay.
And that basically describes that process. Like people who were faced in the Holocaust with the most adversities, the worst adversities you can ever face in your life.
Yeah.
And how some people, despite of that, how they coped.
Yeah.
And really, that's your own resources. And it is about perceiving those resources and actually nurturing that. And that is what you can do in mental health a lot. That's basically what I see as a work in mental health as well.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Mary, did you have something there?
Your question was?
My question, so here's my big question. If you could change one thing in the current system to improve outcomes, what would it be?
Well, I definitely am a big fan of grassroots movements of people, such as this freedom community. I think that presently in our society, we have too many top-down hierarchies of power that are like dictatorships, including our political system for the most part, certainly the medical system, the legal system, probably the education system. There's many systems like that where we're basically dictated down to, and we don't have a say. And over my years of work in the legal system, in the healthcare system, any field I've worked in, I see that problems rise with these approaches, and the power needs to be really be with the people.
Yeah.
And I think that's really imperative going forward. So I really appreciate about the freedom movement and about the freedom convoy and so forth, that people just took their power and said, this is our, this is our country, this is what we care about. The government is work for the people. That's why you're in power. It's not the other way around.
Yeah.
So I think that dynamic needs to shift in our, so I think when that happens, and this is part of it, the health of our whole society will improve, and our individual and collective health also along with that. So.
Yeah, true egalitarianism, right? And how do you, I can't remember who said it, but someone said that, absolute power corrupts absolutely, right? And that's what happens is, and we see it, they want to hang on and hang on. I was so shocked when the emergency, the newest emergency declaration or whatever it is, orders that Bonnie Henry came out with. I thought, why on earth are we still putting out emergency orders? And I did read the whole thing, and at one point it said, because it might come back. Yeah. That's crazy. Like, and that's the whole thing. The minute you give these things away, right? But that is that whole piece around, it's not my responsibility, it's somebody else's. I'm going to abdicate my power and authority, and it's a big trade-off, right?
Yeah, and along with that shifting, we do need to keep having accountability measures.
Yeah.
Because as you say, power corrupts. So even in the grassroots movement, there needs to be accountability to each other. I think by virtue of the relationships you have with other people, that accountability is there. But that's a big part of what's lacking right now, and it is jeopardizing a lot of people's health and well-being right now. And, Barb is seeing heightened anxiety and depression in many people.
Yeah.
As a result of these things. So.
Carolyn, what is your thoughts about, what would you change? The question, let me put my glasses on. Got it? Go.
I think it's very honest to say that there's really no changing the direction things are going.
Yeah.
There is, an opportunity to create a parallel system.
100%.
So if we spend all our time and energy in seeking out ways to change things, I mean, it's kind of like beating the drum, like, is it ever going to happen? Or beating our head against the wall, right? So trying to find ways to, again, like Mary said, come together as a collective and create a vision that we want to see for our children and their children, like their future. So I think that what I would change would be how we come together and, have outlets to dance, to laugh, to
Pray,
meditate, to do these things and have it offered to the public, and encouraged. Because I feel like it's not really all that encouraged,
It isn't, I was just thinking about, I was sharing with both Christine and Sharon the other day. I think back to one of the best days ever for me during this whole COVID lockdown was when Carm and a few others said, we're going to go down to the mall and sing carols.
yeah.
And it was amazing. I can't even describe for you the feeling. And the best part was I had just started working at Seike, and so I was in the lunchroom and I could hear people talking, and there were people in there that I didn't really know very well. And I heard them say, oh my God, I was at the mall yesterday and people started singing carols. I ripped my mask off and I joined the group and I sang with them. It was amazing. That was the best moment ever for me to hear that. And I can't even tell you the joy that I felt. Yeah, the joy of singing together. And it was amazing and it was very powerful. And I would say that there was incredible healing energy in that. And you could see like everyone who had been fearful and afraid were taking their masks off and they were coming together. And the funniest part was watching the little rent-a-cops running around because they didn't quite know what to do with us, right? They didn't know what to do. So they kind of ran around and they had on their walkie-talkies. And, really what we should have said was, why don't you come in and sing with us? But they just didn't know what to do. And that, to me, I just think about that joy that was there in that moment and wanting to recreate that and wanting more of that. I think as human beings, we gravitate to the light and to the joy when it's presented to us. And so we want to create more opportunities. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and it doesn't always take like a big group
No.
of people. It takes one
Yeah,
person
100%.
to show them by way of, their being.
Yeah,
And be an example.
100%. Awesome.
Can I answer that question?
You go, yeah, of course.
Can you reread it?
Yes, I can.
Because
Let me
I
put
had a
on my
thought. I had a
spectacles here. If you could change one thing in the current system to improve outcomes, what would it be?
Oh, it's in the system. I was just gonna say
Just
something.
in life, the system
In
of
life.
life.
Okay, if I could change one thing, just one thing that I think would make a better, healthier future for us, I would ask everyone to, when they are, when something happens to them, that they, instead of going for the negative, go for the positive. It is the best tool ever.
Yes.
I learned it in a book full of tools, and I may have forgotten all the other things to have a great life, but it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if you fall down and scratch your leg while you're getting a bouquet, stealing lilacs. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if
You're
you do
liberating
that.
them.
And then if you teach your kids that,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if they're sarcastic and they go, oh God, Mom, I don't need to hear your positive perspective on it right now. They will learn it.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if they don't like your positive perspective, but if you could just choose the positive side every time something happens, it doesn't matter what it is. And I mean, if it's something really, really awful, you don't have to jump up and down and say it, but you can reflect and you can say, shoot, I lost my job. Maybe I need to look at what I really want to do.
Yeah. yeah.
Maybe I want to facilitate meditation groups, or I want to like join a bunch of leaders
Yeah.
and do things, whatever it is. But if
Yeah.
you just go positive, you'll find it. So that's what I would ask
Awesome.
everyone to consider.
Oh,
Sorry.
Who's next?
Other direction.
I think a change that I would like to see is that we work together, and I mean the whole medical system. And when I worked with Susanna years ago, she said, what's really sad? She said, in Europe, everybody works together.
Yeah.
It's such a secret, that you go to a doctor but your gynecologist doesn't know what's going on with you, and then you go to nobody has
Yeah.
any information. It's all kept such a secret, And you are one unit, and you should be working together, whether it's a chiropractor, acupuncturist. Everybody should have valuable information. I had a hysterectomy when I was 25 years old. No, I didn't. There's no records of it. So therefore I didn't have it, which is ridiculous, right? But
I would think you know.
But that's what they tell me. That's
not something you lose.
It's not there. It can't be, right?
Yeah.
Excuse me. But this is what I mean.
go
The
ahead,
system
sorry.
is so locked because
Microphone.
nobody keeps track of. Everybody keeps track of just PQC. They don't share the information. So I would like to see it shared, but it's not going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But
You go ahead.
that's the change that I would like to have seen.
Awesome. Switch that to the positive, as Alana has shared.
I will. No, but that would be
it's
a
not.
dream.
Yes, but instead of saying it's not going to happen, I believe
will.
it can happen,
It's gonna happen.
and we will manifest it.
It will. Let's do it. Yes. It's true.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Barb?
Yeah, so it's hard to find one thing.
Right.
Okay, so I found one word, but I will make it big. So one word is I would shift the value system in our society to nurturing as connection. And starting with connection is the one thing, but it's on all levels. So starting with what I talked about before, the inner connection, and that is very related with our emotion. The emotional disconnection, which most of us experience in our society through shame, through many other things, is at the basis of that, because the emotional disconnection disconnects you from your intuition, from your inner wisdom. So that needs to be nurtured with certain techniques, emotional awareness, become aware of when we shame, when we feel ashamed, because this is really how we were, how to say that, not indoctrinated, there's another word, but how we were raised. And so if we nurture connection, and then connection with other beings, with conscious movement, dancing. Dancing is, if you look at all evolutionary in all prehistoric societies, how they bonded, and there is physiological evidence. Oxytocin is a bonding hormone. That's how loyalty was created. Oxytocin in dancing, through singing, in the tribe, or in the couple, through sex or nursing your baby, that made sure we care for each other. So if we nurture connection on all these levels, individual and socially, that means also decentralization and cooperatives, where we work in smaller groups, where we all are accountable. And through regular practices, because that is actually one of the most health beneficial things, if we can experience this connection. And that counteracts our society value now of competition, being better, being wanting to be better, needing to be better, more. So connection is the key word on every level. Politically, no hierarchies anymore, because it is disconnecting, right? And that gets its own dynamics and its ego and fear-based materialism, more. So that's my keyword.
Okay, I love that. And I think that's a very positive place to be, so I'm going to hang on to that one.
Yeah, dance more.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, Christine, I want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything from you.
Okay. Well, if
What
I
would
was
you
going to
change?
change one thing about the system, I think it would be equating technological and scientific advancement with progress. It's it's pushed on us. We have been we're told to believe that because it's new and improved that we are at the peak of human achievement and growth, and what we really have been has been disconnected from continuity, from tradition, right?
Yes, 100%.
And it starts well in the system. It starts with the education system. We're separated from our children. I homeschool my 3 kids as well. Right from the first day of school, they are being programmed to be disconnected from the family, from values, and by the time we're graduated and ready to join the system, we have been educated to become a cog in the wheel of the system and contribute to that ever advancing poisonous technology, that's what I would change.
That's awesome. I think what a wonderful sort of smattering of very different perspectives. I think that is so interesting to hear that. I'm always interested to hear what others think about and what they would change. So thank you for sharing that. I have another question for everyone, just to think about this. I was thinking of these questions as I was going through this process today and yesterday. So the questions changed quite a bit. Sorry to say, they probably were better in the first draft. But one of the thing I'm curious to understand and know, as I said, I grew up in the nursing realm, trained Western modality, but as I said, became very open to other ways of healing and health. I'm curious, and for me, COVID really pushed me hard into that alternative healing, and back to a path of nature's path back to wellness, right? So I'm curious to understand from all of you, when did you first know or realize that the health system or things were just not quite right, or that there was something different, or is it something you always knew? I'm curious to hear. Because it was awakening for me.
Well, as a pharmacist, my divorce from the healthcare system was a long, drawn-out process that probably began a good decade before COVID.
Yeah.
And I should go back further than that. I'm not originally from Prince George. I'm a Maritimer. I grew up in a very rural area in Nova Scotia.
Nice.
Yep, connected to nature. And I mean, I did as a teenager work in the local pharmacy in the small town, but Nova Scotia at that time, which was the early 90s, was it was almost like Little House on the Prairie. It was like
Nice.
serious 100 years ago operating. And when I worked at the pharmacy, it was when I was a teenager and when I got my license, on one of my shifts I was I delivered prescriptions to local residents that couldn't drive, couldn't access the pharmacy. And my boss would literally give me the keys to the pharmacy van and say, okay, Christine, today you're going to go deliver insulin to Mr. Smith. He lives up on the mountain. He's, he's pretty lonely. He's probably going to make you a cup of tea. And then he's probably going to invite you to stay and have supper. And then you just stay as long as you need to.
Right?
Yeah. And then I just had to be back by closing time. And that was my introduction into pharmacy.
Nice.
People came to the pharmacist because they cared, and people dropped off their water to have their water tested. They paid their Sears bill. It was like the hub of
the hub of the community, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That connectedness that Barb was talking about, right?
Yeah. And so I very much. I think many of us who got into healthcare, we wanted to help people,
Yes.
right? Like you mentioned, right? And it was a very caring professional environment to be in. So fast forward, I moved halfway across country to Saskatoon. That's where I went to school. And what's actually neat is my pharmacy schooling was in no way where my disconnection from the system began, because it was actually the first year. They changed the entire program, and actually we were all interviewed based on a critical thinking exam. And they changed
fantastic.
the whole pharmacy program
Wow.
to support the ability to be a critical thinker.
That's
And
fantastic.
yeah. So, and what's also neat was they were very open about alternative and natural medicine. My third year of school, we spent an entire year on herbal medicine.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, acupuncture, homeopathy. They brought in chiropractors. They brought in people to talk about chelation therapy.
Oh my gosh.
Brought in a native elder who shared his Sundance experiences. And they were very open. And that was
That's fantastic.
yeah, that planted the first seed for me to get very passionate about herbal medicine and plant medicine. I graduated. It was similar in the prairies. I had a very similar experience working in pharmacies where there was interdisciplinary care.
Yes.
I worked under a pharmacist in Saskatoon that was spent 2 days of the week in a medical clinic teaching people how to use their diabetic meters and how to monitor their blood sugar. And there was interdisciplinary collaboration. And so then fast forward to 2005, which is when I came to Prince George, all bright-eyed and ready to,
Bushy-tailed.
contribute to this beautiful interdisciplinary world. And I was getting my tour of Shoppers Drug Mart's first line where I worked for 10 years. And I was introduced to the bulletproof glass drive-through window facing a Booth Street. And my dreams were altered a little bit. But come to COVID, I really believe, because I was schooled on critical thinking, it was very immediately obvious to me when the vaccines came out. They sent us all the monographs early, the College of Pharmacy did.
Yeah.
And, we were just educated very strongly to be able to separate industry corrupted, biased
The biased
scientific
information.
And then knowing drug design, I mean, I read through the monographs of both the Pfizer and the Moderna, early on when they sent them to us, and just reading through how they were designed. And my first thought was nothing about this is intended like to do anything but harm people, like in a very severe way. And I felt that everyone I graduated with should obviously naturally come to the same conclusion, because
hey?
we
Yeah.
were all,
Yeah.
educated to figure that out. So, but 10 years before, when my divorce with the healthcare system started, it was actually H1N1, which relates very
yes.
much to COVID,
Yes,
because
yeah,
I see that now
yeah,
as a trial
yeah.
run.
Yes.
And
yeah.
I remember that it was a very similar scenario, right?
Yeah.
A big media fear campaign
Yeah, I
about this
remember that,
deadly
yeah.
flu, right? And then everybody across Canada lined up to get that newly released,
Yes.
like,
And it was
interim
short supply.
approved vaccine,
Yes, and it
right?
was short term, or there wasn't enough, wasn't that the other issue? Wasn't enough or something?
Yeah.
And
no.
wasn't it with that one that they changed the definition of pandemic?
Yes.
Because I remember that's many years ago, right? And my mother, who is a pharmacist, but mainstream,
Yeah.
and she was always full blown on the medical system, like, believing everything.
Yeah.
And then when I think the H1, like this
Yeah.
virus came out, I thought, no, I remember I learned something else in my degree. But it's almost many years ago. And then I asked her, hey, do you remember the definition of pandemic, what they're saying now, like 5
interesting.
cases in 3 countries? It's like, that's not what I remember.
Yeah.
And even
Exactly.
she looked it up in her old books and she found it, no? And they had recently changed that.
Changed it.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
interesting.
and that is when actually that the government suggested that pharmacists be educated, like trained how to give injections to help administer supply.
That's right too.
Now-
yeah.
I went into pharmacy to help people. When my kids like injure themselves and I see a drop of blood and I am out. So, to me, administering vaccines is not what I signed up for, at all. Like,
Yeah.
But besides that point, once that happened, the entire work environment changed. And then every pharmacy owner basically started looked at that as, they started building their entire fiscal year around how many flu shots could we administer, right?
Interesting.
And so that's all pharmacists started concentrating on. And it's heavily advertised, and every pharmacist I was working with since that time, so that started in H1N1 when pharmacists were able to administer vaccines, just dreaded like flu season, because you had to like administer 100 vaccines on an 8-hour shift, along with filling prescriptions, along with counseling patients, and so
is that a really good use of pharmacist time, really?
no, and that's how it's totally altered the entire experience to that's the primary focus now for pharmacists, and
Scary.
it was a problem for me then, and when COVID happened, that was the last straw for me, and we closed our dispensary in March of 2021, and we haven't looked back. Like,
that's fantastic. Well, that's fantastic. All right, Barb.
So how I think I was always a deep thinker, always trying to understand things. So since I think in my 20s, I became very skeptic of the medical system through my own personal experiences. I remember it might be a little thing, but this is when I thought, this can't be real. So I don't know, I was suffering from knee pain and whatever. I went to it was really excruciating. And in my young age, right? And then he wanted to finally, after alternative treatments, whatever, wanted to give me some injections. And then I dared to ask, so what is this injection? Because my mother was a pharmacist, right? I knew I could write it down and ask her. So, and he didn't want to give me the name. He said, oh, it's a vitamin injection. Just vitamins, right? And I forgot which vitamin it was. And he really, he didn't want to tell me. And then finally, he had to, because I want to know the name so I can write it down. He didn't like that. I wrote it down, asked my mother, she looked it up and told me, and it was really like so many side effects.
Oh, wow.
And I was like in my 20s, right?
Wow.
And he told me, he basically lied to me. There was some vitamins in there to reduce the side effects.
Oh,
Great. So, and
interesting.
then other things I
Yeah.
remember, my mother-in-law got really, really sick and fell and had only problems. And then I went through all her prescriptions because I thought, why is this happening? This is not normal. And then I looked through all her prescriptions and made a big chart
Yeah.
with all the side effects. And when you're old, the side effects become
Are
really,
worse, yeah,
really
yeah.
intense. And, you know, with errors and whatever. And it's like she got 3 different pain medications and sleep
Yeah,
medication,
yeah.
like several at the same
Yeah.
time. And the most arrows went to dizziness and other
Yes.
side effects, you know,
Yes.
and so there was no surprise. And then we went to the doctor. And he got really upset. I said, you know, I'm just wondering, you know, why she has these things that she falls and now she's in a
Yeah.
care home, or, you know. And then he was very defensive, and then he didn't talk to us anymore.
Wow.
And then we changed the doctor against her will because he was so nice and wrote her a birthday card each year. That's why she loved him, right? And no, true.
She's his
Yes.
best
And
customer.
And then basically we changed doctors. We found a natural-oriented doctor.
Yeah.
He cut out all his medication, her medication. She was in her 80s already, and she improved like
Dramatically. Yeah. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
amazing, eh?
like incredibly.
Yeah.
She only got 1 or 2 medications. That was it.
Yeah.
And she improved. Other things when I got my children, and you know, and this is all informed consent. So I find COVID with informed consent is just showing what happened all these decades or however long before.
Yeah.
We never had informed consent. When you go to the hospital and get a baby, all these mothers here. So I thought, okay, very critically thinking. I was lucky, I had a midwife. And so she informed me what are the normal procedures done to a baby. You know, I can't remember properly anymore, but
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah.
you know, I remember the vitamin K shot,
Yeah.
right? Because they tell, okay, mother milk, there's no vitamin K. This is
Tell
what
you,
informed
yes, yeah.
consent is. There's no vitamin K in mother milk, and you're risking, what was the side effect? I think like a severe brain damage or
Something like
something. Yeah,
kinnitus
was
or
it?
something like that?
Yeah, or
Kinnitus,
blood.
I think. Yeah, something
Okay,
like
so
that,
anyway,
yeah.
so they really said, if you don't do that, you're basically responsible if your kid gets this disease. So having a scientific background, I had time before I delivered to research, going into the medical journals and research all the research about the things they wanted to put into my babies. And what I found was, should have prepared better. It's so long ago, but I remember I looked every single thing up. And vitamin K has, and they didn't tell me that, no informed consent.
Yeah.
There was a peer-reviewed study done. Vitamin K injections in babies actually have increase or create a significant risk of the baby as a toddler or whenever developing leukemia. Yes, and so I had a friend who got a baby years later, and that little toddler with 4 years got leukemia. You know what I thought?
Yeah.
How can a
Yeah,
baby
for
get
sure.
leukemia? So,
Yeah.
and I don't remember the other ones. I didn't prepare for
Yeah,
this so
yeah.
long ago. But every single thing, I found literature which proved how risky that thing is, what they're doing. There's a reason if mother milk doesn't have vitamin K, you know, like maybe we don't understand it yet.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I didn't do anything for my kids, and I never could do an informed consent because they only gave me one side
Yeah.
and pressured me and said, I'm a bad mother if I don't do that.
Yeah.
And this always happens, like with my niece, with, you know, with everyone.
Yeah.
So I was always critical. And when
Yeah.
COVID started, the first thing which came into my mind, I like intuitive,
Yeah.
I knew it was Bill Gates. Before it was even talked about, I knew it was Bill Gates.
It's always those ball gates, right?
But that was my feeling, like really
Yeah.
strong. And then I looked it up and I found all these talks from him. And he had talked about the same virus exactly. And I didn't know about that. But I looked up because I had
Yeah.
this intuition, and there it was.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was my story.
So Lana.
I'll tell you, mine's very short. I had, when I was young, like
Yeah.
a teenager, my best friend's stepsister, who was older, a lot older than her, said to us one day, like she was mortified because her baby died from SIDS, and she said that baby was totally fine, and I was just like, oh my God, I was really young, and that always stuck in my head. And then when I was pregnant with my first child, I was really freaked out because I still remembered that. And my naturopath gave me this book called A Shot in the Dark. And I read that book, and it was emergency room doctors and nurses that had come forward and were kind of whistleblowers.
Yeah.
And the book was like unbelievable. And I never, after I read that book, ever trusted the allopathic medicine. And if anyone gave me a hard time, I was just like, absolutely no vaccines. If you vaccinate my children, I will sue you. I had a letter at the school, like, and so I was about 25 or 29. Yeah, when I just finally was like, allopathic medicine, no good, you know?
Wow.
So that's my story on
That's
it.
awesome. I love it.
I have a long story, so grab a pillow and maybe I might put you to sleep. No, seriously. I really can't pinpoint when it happened for me. I was always somebody who questioned. I questioned a lot of things all the time. And I can remember Mom putting cloves in your mouth. You know, if you had a
For toothache. Yeah,
I can
for
remember
sure.
her putting garlic and pepper on bread and using that if we were sick.
Yeah.
Mom always had these natural, there were 7 of us, so we couldn't afford to run, and we lived way out in Hickson, so we could not afford to run to a doctor.
Right.
So we
Saved you.
basically sweated it out. I can remember, you know, if we had a sinus infection, we went over top of a tub of hot water, scalding water,
Yeah.
and it didn't matter. Like, she did everything, obviously, as natural as possible. But I think, you know, that probably played a big part. I don't know exactly specific when I was triggered to this, but I can tell you that Susanna, when I went to work for her, it was life-changing. The testimonials of people walking in with what she's done for them, the alternative route that they had taken, and it was life-changing. And of course, I was in 1989, I started at Woodward's, and when I was sick, I would go to Susanna, and Susanna always gave me homeopathy.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I just started giving it to my kids because it worked.
Yeah.
But working with her was a whole different level. When you go there and you see these testimonials of people, I not only became I understood the medical prescription route because I thought, well, it was important for me to learn that. But I submerged myself into homeopathy because the value of it is absolutely life-changing. And if people just absolutely understood the power of these micro remedies that they say, oh, it's placebo. Well, you tell a baby that it's placebo? How does a baby know this is placebo? How does a dog or a cat that we fix, know that it's, come on, you guys, this is real stuff. And it is, it's life-changing. And so I think that was when it really, really hit me. But I do believe that as a young child watching my mother, I think that played a real big role in my critical thinking and the way that we can heal ourselves.
Yeah.
I've always been a little bit of a misfit and an outsider to our society. When I was in the legal system, I realized quickly it didn't work for me because it was called the justice system, but there basically was no justice for people who needed justice the most. So that was what prompted me to get into the field of social work, and then I got into healthcare. So over the years, I had many experiences in healthcare because I worked there for 16 years. And of course, I saw a lot of people with many medications, many side effects, and so forth. I guess where I stand now, I haven't completely written off the pharmaceutical industry because I've seen that there are some medical conditions where pharmaceuticals are actually helpful. But what it is right now, I think the system is completely and utterly out of balance, and the pharmaceutical industry has way too much power. And that to me is the big problem. So basically, the system, I saw over the years many, many problems in the healthcare system. Many ways that it absolutely does not support health. It supports disease maintenance, really. It approaches people as being diseased and carries on from there. But it was really the COVID experience that just brought everything that I absolutely hated about the healthcare system, just all of a sudden took over and started calling the shots. And I think one of you said it was anti-health during COVID, and that was absolutely my experience. It went against all of my code of ethics. It went against all the laws that I understood in healthcare. And so it was intolerable. And that, for me, was the turning point where I had to get out of that system. I just couldn't. When I realized the government was lying to the public also, and saying these vaccines are safe, effective, and save lives, and I realized they have no basis upon which to say that, because they haven't actually done studies to say that. So that was just, and then doing away with the principle of informed consent too much. So that's where I'm at.
Jen, could you repeat?
I
Just refresh.
certainly.
And I
Let me
wrote
put on
some
my
down.
little glasses here. Hold on a minute here.
I tried to be short.
Um,
I don't know how to be sure.
when did you start sort of begin to look at our current mainstream health system differently? And when did you think of health and wellness? And or did you always feel the way that you do? Because it was eye-opening for me, right? So I'm always curious to understand what was the tipping point for others.
I had an interesting childhood because my mom, and still is today, is like a supreme gardener. Like you should see her garden.
wow.
It's immaculate.
It's crazy.
Stunning.
Amazing. Nice.
Yeah, and she came from a long lineage of gardeners. So I've always had that sort of natural approach to it. But she also, I think, you know, I guess it was the era, you know, it was like westernized medicine was very popular and that's what everyone believed, right? So I remember she had these encyclopedias.
I remember those.
Like diseases, I'm gonna say. And I remember being a kid and
Looking at them, yeah.
I took some medicine. Like, I didn't know what had happened. Something was wrong with me. I had a huge rash all over my body, and it was this inquisitive Carolyn that decided to go into the disease books and look to see what was wrong with me, and I figured it out. I figured it out myself that I was allergic to penicillin.
Oh, nice.
So I told my mom, and then went to the doctor, and the doctor confirmed it. So I don't know. I think I've always had this sort of innate ability to kind of understand my body, and you know, fast forward having kids. Actually, prior to having kids, like obviously being on the path of yoga since I was 16.
Yeah.
Understanding that health is so much more encompassing than what the Western modality will push on us. And, you know, I did yoga when no one else was doing yoga.
That's so amazing. But it's so amazing, right?
But you know, that's what my mom had suggested to me, which totally helped. It helped heal me before I think, like I didn't know I had scoliosis until I was in a yoga class and yoga teacher training, and she said, "Oh, you have scoliosis."
Yeah.
She could tell by like my one yoga pose, and anyways, I think that I avoided, because I found yoga so soon in my life.
Yeah.
I avoided any future pain in my back that, you know, could have come. So again, fast forward, on this whole talk about vaccines and whatnot, I was grateful to have, you know, a midwife and a doula, that, you know, opened that, planted that seed of
Right
like,
away,
oh,
yeah.
are you sure? Like, just look into it. And,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, like once you look into it, like there's no going back. And
That's right. You can't unsee it.
You can't. And
right.
You know, and even still, I think my family was like, "What? You're not vaccinated?"
Yeah.
That's very wrong. You know, like what if?
Yeah.
But I stood firm to that, And then, I think that's where I met Luciano, and then, through like, you know, the March Against Monsanto, there was like more talk about health and how, you know, what's in our food.
Yeah.
Could we get curious about that? Like,
Right.
how is it being, you know, again, this whole thing of science, you know.
GMOs and they're all
like,
fine, yeah, yeah.
It's, you know, advancing us in such a positive way, but if you really look at it, is it though? Like, what if like the fruit picked off the tree is better for you, you know?
Exactly.
And yeah, I think I became an activist when it was March Against Monsanto, and that was really, you know, like, and then the whole fluoridation of water, and
Yes.
you look into these things and you're like, oh my
What the heck,
gosh,
yeah.
you're being assaulted from
Every
every
Yeah,
angle.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've always been curious and I've always asked questions, and I always sought to see the bigger picture of what's happening in the world and not just take in the information and do as you're told.
You're told, yeah.
We're not meant to be in a box. No. And it's this path of exploration that we need to like
Encourage and support.
encourage.
Yeah. And I find it so interesting to hear sort of everyone's journey. I'm always curious about it because my own started, in my opinion, very late in life. And I still feel badly that both my kids got vaccinated. And I thought, oh, damn it. My brother was right again. My older brother was right again, right? So, I mean, for me, what was very interesting when I started to really, again, look at these things and question, I think I was in Ontario at that time. And we had a lady, and I was at that time in the acute care for maternal child services. So they deliver babies there, they do postpartum, they do all of it, all in one room and all of that kind of stuff. And there was a couple there who delivered a baby, and the baby was delivered very, very, very early, like 28 weeks by C-section. And they absolutely did not want to have the silver nitrate in the baby's eyes. And I was like, oh, okay. And they were actually going to call Children's Services because they were like, no. And I did the research and I'm like, well, okay, syphilis. They don't have syphilis. The baby needs to be born vaginally before they get it. This child came out of the stomach and their eyes have to be open and the eyes are still fused. Why do they need it? So someone said to me, Jan, why don't you call the medical officer of health? I can't remember the fellow's name now. And why don't you have a conversation with him? Well, I think they were playing a little joke on me. I have never been yelled at so much in my life. It was absolutely hilarious. And when I went and spoke to a very dear colleague of mine who's a midwife from Scotland, I said, holy crap, like what the hell was that? And she's like, oh, you went and phoned him, did you? I said, why do they have to have it? The eyes are fused. She had a cesarean. Oh, and by the way, the blood work says she doesn't have syphilis. What's going on? There's no need. And it was so interesting because we had this conversation about the fact that there hadn't been a neonatal syphilis transmission in Canada at that time in over 100 years. 100 years, they'd actually done away with it. And then I found out that Manitoba did away with it and British Columbia, but Ontario is still, pushing that, right? And it's so interesting that we start to do things and we normalize them. And if you don't have people who question and start going, hold on, wait a minute, then we will continue to do it, right? I remember back in the early days of COVID, again, my background is epidemiology and virology and all of those kinds of things. And I remember asking the question, hold on, how can you say these are cases when they're not in the hospital? The definition in epidemiology is a case is someone who is ill enough to be hospitalized. And we're all of a sudden we have cases. And the whole idea of, these were tenets that I had been, understood to be true for many years, right? So one of the things was that we all remember, asymptomatic spread. There is no such thing. No such thing. And I kept saying, that doesn't make sense. And I remember foolishly typing my emails out to my people and saying, hey, I don't think this is right, or I don't think this is correct or whatever. And the silence was deafening. No one would even respond to the questions. And that's when I started to, like, I'd already been questioning things. I'd already been thinking, I don't know if, do we need to always do it that way? I don't think we do. Maybe there's room for us to do so. I've always been someone to do something differently. I really do believe rules are kind of a guidepost. They don't necessarily need to be followed. I think if you need to be sort of given rules, then you might be a bit erratic. But for me, I don't care. But it was very interesting because at that point, for me, that was sort of the final tipping point that there's something else out there. And I think there is opportunity to marry the two. I think there is a place for Western medicine. I really do believe that. I also think that there is a place and perhaps a larger place for a path back to nature's path back to health.
Yeah.
And I think that's the piece that's missing. And when you strictly go down that technological and highly scientific area, you become desensitized to the art and the intuition and all of these other sort of ways of knowing, being, wisdom that we all know about, right? And I think that's the piece that we want to grow and bring it back up to help with what we're seeing in Western medicine now. So that's the positive, right?
Well
Yeah.
said, Jen.
That's sort of what I'm hoping to see is the
Yeah.
marrying.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm getting the hook. Go ahead.
I just wanted to touch on, I think it's so important that, like you said, like we really bring these two together.
Yeah.
Especially the trajectory that we're going down with moving towards this transhumanist, I want to say agenda. Well, it really is. If you look up biodigital convergence, it's on the Canadian website, horizons.gov.ca or something like that.
Yeah.
And you look on there and you read and you come to realize like what is planned out is this merging of AI technology with like the biological and the digital come together.
It's the wrong mix, right? It's the wrong, I'm not saying there shouldn't be marrying of substances, but that's the wrong mix.
Yeah, and that's pushed too far.
Yeah,
you know, and,
100%.
Yes, okay, maybe for someone that needs the ability to, wants the ability to see or certain things like,
Well, walking again, spinal, there could be some amazing breakthroughs through spinal technology using digital connections and things to learn how to walk again, for example.
But we're talking about like, this.
Yes, in the brain.
It's
Yeah.
like brain
Not good.
control.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah, it
And
is.
the problem with that is that the laws and the ethics around that are not.
100%
these developments, particularly the ethics, and these are really important conversations.
100%.
that happen, and they're not happening.
Yeah.
So it's definitely there's huge number of problems.
Yeah, we just don't understand it, right? I remember Dolly, the clone sheep, right?
Yes.
Remember that? That was all of Pandora's box and all of that. And yeah, we're playing with things we don't really understand yet, the ramification. But anyway.
I think we all get 1 minute each now, so
Yes.
let's wind down.
Yeah.
So you're next. Do you have anything else to say?
Of course, I always have something to say.
Oh, microphone.
I think if I'm gonna leave on one note, I just want to say, everybody, it's up to you to make the change. It's up to you to educate yourself. It's up to you to, use your critical thinking hat. And I know that word is used, quite, loosely, but you really do have to believe in yourself and into your intuition. If something doesn't seem right, just stop and ask yourself why. Question things. Just don't rely on sources because it's out there. Our guts tell us things. I get people every day that we serve every day that come in and they're standing there. They already have the answer. to their health needs. They already know what they have to do. They just don't know how to get there.
Yeah.
So they just need a little bit of guidance, a little bit of support, which we offer. We offer great support. And just to plug in for our store, I just want you to know we care. Like, we really care. And we're in this journey together, all of us. And I really believe that, 21 years ago when I met Susanna, when she started out on this journey, she was a pioneer and she's seen things before we even knew it would exist, right? And I'm just really proud to be part of this journey. I'm proud to be working with Christine, and just have faith, everybody. Believe in yourself. Believe that we will come out on top of this.
Awesome, thank you.
I'd just like to say thanks for inviting me to sit here with all you amazing women. It's been very interesting and enlightening, and happy birthday, Dominic. And thank you, Linda, for having us in your space. And here you go.
Yeah, thank you for having me as well. And I wish we could have private circles more, where we can really also come up with ideas how we can transform some of these things, which many of you do already, but yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Well, thank you for hosting and leading this lovely organic collaboration of wisdom and beauty and connection to that, divine within. We've been told and controlled for, by a system that wants us to believe that, poison is health and medicine, and it's anti-life, it's anti-humanity, and we need to take our power back and reconnect with what we know intuitively, what nature has given us. We were put on a planet that organically contains everything in it we need to heal and be healthy. And having this conversation, I think, is a good reminder that that's where we need to go. And I'm just so happy to be united here with you lovely ladies and this beautiful, alive and awake Prince George crowd to remember that great fact. So thank you.
And I just wanted to thank everybody here for the opportunity, and to Luciano and Dom for allowing me to take over your space with my lovely friends here. I'm hoping that this is the beginning of something that we can build on even monthly or every other month, and maybe have more of a focused discussion as we go forward to remind people of what health and wellness can be and what it can look like and how to access what we already know to be true. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time, for listening to us for a very long time. And I think it's time to celebrate Dom's birthday. Thanks again.